All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here with Richard Fu from richardfu.com. And today, guys, I am in the unknown. I'm in uncertainty here because I got this amazing guy on the show. His name is Matt Belair. He's an author, he's an athlete, he's a speaker, he's a coach. But most of all, he is an interesting fellow because even though I'm doing this intro, I barely know much about him. And that's what's the most exciting part about this podcast. I'm excited to have him on the show because he came off a highly recommended friend. And so I know he's just going to bring in the most here. Even in our chat just before we got started, it was exciting. And I know he's going to bring so much value here on the show. So guys, please welcome Matt on the show. Matt, good to have you on, bro.
Hey, man. Richard, thanks for having me on, dude. Excited too. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so, Matt, man, for myself, man, for all the listeners here, for the people who haven't heard about you, man, could you share a bit more about what you do and how you actually help people, brother?
Absolutely. So it's difficult to say. I'm getting better at it. My sister, my girlfriend, love trying to describe to people what I do because I'm into so many things. But the most concise way to put it is I'm a coach. But I just wrote a book called Zen Athlete, and I have this online training. And my goal with that is to popularize the mental game of sport. So my whole life, I've been a martial artist, and I've always been interested in mind power, what I was capable of, how are these martial artists breaking bricks, all this kind of stuff. And then I grew up a skateboarder and then a snowboarder in Whistler for 8 years, and I trained professional snowboarders. And what surprised me was they weren't using any of the techniques that I learned in martial arts. Like they didn't even know how to visualize their tricks. They didn't know how to clear their mind. And this was something that I had taken for granted being a martial artist. And so, you know, I was at that time, like in high school, I'm studying things like meditation, Zen, enlightenment. I'm looking up astral projection, lucid dreaming, all this stuff. And it doesn't stop. In my 20s, I'm doing the same thing. And it's no one else is doing it, and I'm kind of on my own self-exploration. And so when I learn something, I want to learn from the best. And so I did this big trip, and I meditated with monks in Nepal and trekked Everest. I trained with professional fighters in Thailand because I wanted to see what I was capable of, and that's the best way is to go to a proper full-on MMA training camp. And then I trained with Shaolin Kung Fu monks in China. And so I've spent a long time trying to sort out myself, seeing about what I was capable of, learning all the best techniques. And as a byproduct, I became a coach. And so, you know, my coaching practice is changing a little bit because I've always been very selfish in the sense that I don't want to sell my time for money. I've always figured out how to make passive income through marketing. So being in the internet marketing space for so long, I would always have some project going that would sustain me so I could travel the world and do my kind of thing. But now I'm getting better at serving people in a way that kind of honors my time and gives them the best results, because so many coaches and people out there, you have these programs that are so long, and I have one or two people that I'll mentor. So kind of like Tony Robbins, and you know, I give them homework and we're on track and keep them guiding. That's great if you can do that. But in a 3-hour session, I can just pretty much blast you with everything that I've ever learned, and then you got to go do it. It's kind of like having a really good workout program. If you want strong legs, it's 5 sets of 5 squats. That's not complicated, but people are messing around with, you know, Zumba and all these different things. They get a little bit of a result, but I'm just aware it's 5 sets of 5 squats. So once I can kind of empower you with the knowledge around it, then you can start to discover all this stuff for yourself, because really at the end of the day, we are our own master, right? We have all the knowledge, and it's just you know, good coaches are able to bring out the best in us. And so that's what I try to do for people.
Nice, man. Nice. And dude, talk us about through your journey. I know you mentioned it a bit here. I mean, like, you know, you were always a martial artist, then you became, you know, you got into other sports. I mean, like, where did you actually start seeing that there's this huge gap between the physical game and the mental game for all these athletes? And then how did you see that you could slot into there, that, you know, it could just work and you could be their coach for the mental side of things?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I first realized it in Whistler, and I was getting better at snowboarding, and there's a park called the Black Park, and that's where all the massive jumps are. And so, you know, it's my first or second year, I actually started to get a little bit comfortable in there. And these guys were amazing, you know, some of the best snowboarders on the planet. and we would talk, and they didn't know anything really about visualization. They didn't know how to really handle fear. They would just kind of do it, very male. It's just like, you just huck it. Which is a strategy, and that's part of the reason why they're so good, because they're fearless. But when you add all these other elements, how to relax yourself, how to visualize your trick, how to get in the zone on command, it takes your writing and it takes your ability to a whole new level. And for me, the most important thing is how you view your sport, because there's no difference really between martial arts or soccer, baseball, hockey, rugby. It's a perspective. So the perspective in martial arts is it's a tool and a catalyst to develop your mind, body, and spirit. There's no reason why we can't bring that same perspective and teach this in kids and youth camps and things like that, right? Teach them how to focus, teach them how to, meditate, teach them how to clear their mind, teach them about limiting beliefs and internal dialogue and what that means and how what they're saying to themselves matters, right? So, it's interesting because I've studied marketing and I have a marketing background, and I've done a lot of consulting and crowdfunding and things here and there to pay the bills. But what I know in doing this right now, there's really no market for it. It's actually very stupid business-wise. But I'm so passionate about what it is. So I have some athletes that have come and I've trained over the years, but I'm planting something that I know is so needed. You know what I mean? And I'm on the forefront. So it's not like you have all these athletes out there like really loving mental training, because it's so the male side is like, I'll just do it. I don't need this. They think that they need something wrong to come learn about the mental game, when they're not realizing that you can increase your level so much more, and beyond just the physical capabilities, your whole life, that whole circle of balance. And when you can clean up all areas of your life using these techniques that are, some of them are timeless, you know what I mean, thousands of years through martial arts and all that kind of stuff, and some of them are a little bit more modern with NLP, and it's spectacular. So I've had amazing success with the athletes that I've had. Probably the most impressive story is, there's a freestyle motocross rider that came to me. His name's Brody Carmichael, and he's awesome. And he's like, "Hey, bro, I got your info from Pat, who's another professional motocross rider. He said you're really good. I fell on a front flip." And he's like, "I want to land a front flip on my motorcycle, and I want to do the world's first front flip variations." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So we had an hour coaching session, and I just made sure he didn't have any limiting beliefs or anything like that. And I kind of tuned a couple perspectives for him. But overall, he was solid. He had a very solid mindset. So I said, "Hey, man," I was like, "you don't need to read my book. You don't need to do the video course. You don't need to do any of these meditations." I was like, "Actually, all you need to do is you need to visualize the trick that you want an hour a day until you know you can land it. And it's going to take you 4 to 7 days. It's going to take you about a week because you have the skill level and you're familiar." 2 weeks later, he lands the front flip on dirt. 1 week after that, he lands the world's first front flip heel clicker. 2 weeks after that, without being on his bike for one moment, he was traveling. He didn't practice this once. He wasn't on his bike once. He did the world's first front flip Superman on a motorcycle. And that is how powerful our minds are. And the reason why he was able to do this is because extreme sports has a necessity. If he messes this up, it could be the end of his life, his legs, all this kind of stuff. But traditional sports don't have that necessity. So when you take these tools where it becomes absolutely necessary to land or come close, you don't have the option to freak out, to not commit, to all that kind of stuff. So he was willing to put in the work. So as I said at the beginning, it's not complicated techniques. You just have to get enough belief around why you would do a practice. It's like the same thing with squats. If nobody knew what a squat rack was, and you had a squat rack and you're like, just put weight on this thing and bend down and stand up, people might not believe you because they don't know what the hell a squat rack is. So when I say, when I'm going into somebody and they're hearing this, they might have all these preconceived notions. But when you open yourself up to the possibilities, they're infinite, man. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, it gets way deeper than this. Sport is like, kindergarten. What you can do with, power of mind and reality creation is amazing.
Wow, man, I love
Very
this.
long-winded answer.
No,
Yeah.
I love the story, man, and just like that, you laid it out like that, and I think that's why it's so important. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're a business person, whether you are in your own career, is that you can create these beliefs, you can create these, I guess, visualizations for what it is you want. Whether it's a new career path, whether it's a new business, whether it's you being an athlete or being the best athlete that you can be. And so, man, I mean, I love the story that you're sharing here. Is that a lot of these people, and not even just athletes, I mean, in general, people don't know how to visualize to the level that they need to, so that it's kind of like, there's always that saying, right, Matt, is that, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's actually the way the world works is actually you have to believe it, then it will come into existence, right? And so would that be fair of what you're saying? I mean, like, how does this work, man? Like, how do you visualize, how do you help one of these athletes who's never done these tricks before, and they've never probably been performed before, just like how the thing is that Robert Bannister could not, broke the 4-minute mile. How do these people visualize something that's realistic enough, but is also not like too, out of the realm of possibility?
Yes, it's a very good question, and I agree with everything that you just said there. So had this in Zen, they talk about levels of understanding. So there's universal truths, and they're not that complicated, like we are all one, just things like that. And there's tons more. But so they talk about deepening of these truths. So you have a deepening of this understanding, right? And one that I had recently, which is so like anticlimactic, but it was so massive for me, was that every single thing in our existence, in your existence, and that is here, came from nothing, came from absolutely nothing. Everything came from nothing. Yeah. So that's where it's created. So what the F-bomb, like, where does that come from? What is this realm of thought, right? And this is stuff that happens when you go into deep states of meditation. You really realize that you create, everything is being created, and you're creating it, and it's a co-creation, and it's magical. So first of all is belief. Now, there's some tricks, man, and it's easy. Like, one of the tricks is, like, if they can't figure it out, pretend you're the best freestyle motocross rider in the world, and just pretend you put on his body and visualize the trick. There you go. And I was going to say, it's a really important point that, with the book that I wrote and with all the programming and this stuff, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because it doesn't matter if it's a sport. It could be business. It could be anything. It's a catalyst. If you want to be successful at business, you need to have the right belief systems, and you can elicit those, figure out what they are, implant them into your brain, create these structures and neural networks in your mind, create belief systems, create a plan of action, and monitor it every step of the way, and then do it in a manner of non-attachment, saying, you know what, this is what I'm creating, but I'm so grateful for every single thing that I have, and no matter what happens, it's perfect. And then you have true mastery, because the result isn't up to you. You know what I mean? How many Zen Athlete books are sold, whether somebody on this podcast buys a book or goes to my website or does anything? That's not up to me. My thing is to know who the hell I am, and then project that as hard as I can, you know what I mean? And be that as honestly and as authentically and ignorantly, you know what I mean? And know that I'm like limited, and it's just like, man, I don't know what's going on, you know what I mean? But I'm curious about this. I'm passionate about this, and I'm going to go towards my joy. So when you were, in business and you want to create this thing, right? Think about the beliefs you would need. And then you could think about, so Law of Attraction Technique, one of my mentors, Michael Lozier, wrote the book, The Law of Attraction. Amazing book. And very simple, very practical in how to really use the Law of Attraction. And one of the techniques is just like, okay, so if you want to create this idea or belief around business, has somebody else done it before? Well, probably. How many people? Well, if they've done it, has somebody with less resources done the thing that you want to do, or with less skill? So you kind of find these ways around why you can believe it. And then you go in and you just practice visualization. But a lot of people do visualization wrong. And again, it's not complicated. You just need to know what the heck you're doing. And once you're armed with it, it's like squats. They're not complicated, but I go to the gym and I see squats and deadlifts, and a lot of people do them absolutely terribly. And sometimes I correct them and sometimes I don't, because I'm kind of concerned for them. But once you have it correct. You have it for life. And whenever you want strong legs, whenever you want to increase your power, you can go do those exercises. The same with visualization. And this gets into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, where he has the leading science of people curing themselves of terminal illnesses through meditation, through going into the void and shutting off, visualizing health, and then they have absolute 100% miracles. And there's, I don't know how many cases he has, but it's probably like 50, 100, 200, who even knows now. There's Kundalini experiences. He has them on EEG scans. And for me, when I was a kid, I believed this stuff always. And now we're starting to catch up scientifically, where we're starting to say, holy smokes, there is something to this.
Wow, man. And so
get on a roll.
Like, you know, there's so many times, so many people tell other people, right, to stay realistic, be realistic. You can't do that, man. You can't achieve that. And so then, you know, like, is there a point, what do you use for a measuring stick, man, with yourself and with your own athletes, of like, where can you stop yourself? Or or not where you stop yourself, it's like, where is the next step that you can take yourself? That's not too far, that's not a huge, massive leap, but so that there's incremental progression, you continue improving yourself, man.
Well, I don't know if I'm clear on the question, but I'll answer and see if it kind of helps. So always baby steps, right? Number one, most importantly, bar none, is that you got to be whole, happy, harmonious, full of self-love, kind, and amazing at every moment of the day. It's challenging, but there's no thing outside of you that is going to make you feel better. If you thought it was this business and it's not the business you're supposed to go into, and then you're super successful and you're driving a Ferrari, but you've missed out on balance, friendship, health, it's this whole harmonious balance. And the real key is understanding what is really most important to you. And once you know that, you can build everything from that. And then you got to do it in this joy, in this dance of understanding that you wanted to create this. Because if you were a genie and you're like, okay, I want this business, boom. I want the perfect woman, boom. Well, that one might be nice forever. You know, I want this. And then after an hour, if you could get everything you wanted, you would be bored in a few days, because you just had it. We came here to think and create. We're all creators. And when you can get very clear on what it is that you want to create, everything else comes to fall into place, because it's not going to be easy. You could be doing the wrong thing and it's going to be hard. So you have this perspective of this inner knowing saying, I am building this. I am stoked on this. I enjoy doing this. This is who I am. And so, you know, you can see this vision, but once you start to apply yourself every day, the belief systems are going to start to come in, because you're going to see these steps. And so when you're in a process, you kind of want to see the end goal, right? You want to see, you know, yourself as the greatest athlete, or, you know, this business coming to fruition, or your ideal life. And then you go with full non-attachment and say, cool, I am so grateful for right now. You know, I am grateful for my feet. I'm grateful for my eyes. I'm grateful we have so much stuff that we take for granted. You know, take all that away and you're like, oh my God. But that's society, and that's a whole another way. I could rant on that for like 10 hours. But really understand that they call it in Buddhism, they call it mental nutriments. And basically as I say, don't think about a cow, or try not to imagine volleyball, or don't think about Kim Kardashian. You have to think about those things. So they're implanting these thoughts, but more than that, it's energy. So if I say think about your childhood pet, the one you love the most. Now imagine you just got run over by a car. Now, if you did that, you have this, and I'm sorry that I did that to you, but it's the easiest way to understand. You have this sinking feeling. You can feel it. And that feeling projects into your reality and creates it. So as we continue to watch TV, watch the news, listen to people, go on Facebook and look at bullshit, we are literally sending that signal back, so we create more. So number one thing is be very, very careful about what you're allowing into your mind, because you have to make sense of what you're computing and looking at, you have to vibrate that frequency pretty much. So you start there, you basically shut out everything as much as you can anyways that's not serving, and then you start to imprint the thing that you want. And that's where miracles are, because basically the way we're programmed is we wake up, Our brain turns on and we go find money. And that's how
Yeah.
most people live. And then they have this false sense of security that it's going to always be there in this job with the 401k. And then meanwhile, 20 years goes by and they're like, son of a bitch, I just wasted my life for what? And so, so you don't want that.
Whoa, man, I'm just sitting here stunned. The guys was sitting here stunned. I was like, oh, whoa, you know, that's like crazy stuff. And like,
you didn't know what you're getting in for.
Yeah, exactly. I told you, stepping into the unknown, stepping into the unknown. And so let's transition here then, Matt, for its sake, all right? We're talking about this new technique that you've been working on, that you've discovered and that you're applying with your coaching clients as well. You know, talking about was the heart hypnosis, right? Heart hypnosis, where you can help someone truly discover like their purpose. And I'd love for you to share more about this because it interests me, and it's never like a clear pattern of how to discover someone's purpose. And so I'd love to know how you've broken it down through this heart hypnosis, man.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for asking that, because I am stoked about that. So I've been in this field of, let's say, self-development or whatever you want to call it, manifestation. And, you know, I'm basically right off the deep end. Like when I do those brain analysis, there's Myers-Briggs and there's another one. I am so far over on big picture thinking, imaginative, all that kind of stuff. So for my whole life, I've been trying to tell my friends like, hey man, like, do you know you could wake up in your dreams and like do lucid dreaming? Then I get one of the best coaches on the planet, the best trainer on the planet in law of attraction. I get mentored under him, and I know how to create my reality. I want to share with my friends, dude, you can do anything, man. So I'm always asking my friends and people, if you, in a lot of coaching, if you were infinite, if you were God, if you could do anything, what would your life look like? What does that look like with no strings? Like, just imagine it. Now, the thing is about the mind is programmed for security, to keep you safe. Back in the day when there's a saber-toothed tiger out there, we're going to run away and grab a stick, or we're going to do whatever. We're programmed to keep ourselves safe. So now in this society, safety is money, right? If you don't have money, you can't eat, then you die. So when I ask you the question, if you're infinite, if you're God, if you could do anything, what would you do? And the problem is you have to think logically, because if you make this choice, then you're not going to know where you're going to get money from, then you might die, right? That's kind of how our brains are wired, like at these deep levels. So even if you tried to say, I wanted to be a musician, or I would love to start this business, your mind would kick in and say too risky, right? And that's how hypnosis works. It's basically removing what's called critical factor, or your consciousness, which is made up of your past, your beliefs, and all that kind of stuff. So I had this friend of mine, and he was so analytical that, I was helping him and I was doing some coaching, and I knew there was zero chance that he was going to give me a good answer. He was probably going to say like, I want an extra 10 grand in my 401k is my infinite possibility. And like, he had no chance. So I was on the phone with him. I was like, okay, hey, we're just going to try this. And I just off the top of my head did this guided meditation with him, and I hypnotized him into his heart. And when he was in the middle of the process, he started crying, and he's an older gentleman. He started really like crying, and then he cried again through it. And the second that I was done, I knew for sure that was special. And what for me really makes me know that it's special is because I didn't create it. I didn't go and sit down and say, I'm going to create a thing that helps people understand their purpose. I know for sure that was pulled out of me, that was like one of those things some people will say, oh, it was inspired or from spirit, right? It was pulled out of me from what I knew already. And I was just trying to help someone. And the second I did, I was like, holy shit, like that's nothing like this exists. There's something close. And I'm always looking for this stuff. And if there's something better, I'm going to use it. I don't care. I've done so many different seminars and healings. I don't care if it's like quack like a duck and do a handstand and like eat a bowl of soup and milk. I'll do that if they say it's supposed to give me a result. I don't give a darn. I'm going to try it. And I'll let you know after I do it if it worked. Like, nah, don't do the bowl of milk thing. It's bullshit. You just, you got a bunch of milk after. So, I don't know. So then I started to do it with more people, and I've probably done it with about 20 people so far right now. And I also did at Burning Man. I did 2 talks at Burning Man. One was on 5th dimensional consciousness and living, and one was this heart hypnosis. And of the people that I've done it for, about the 20, I'd say 13 or 14 have cried. One popped out of their body, and one pissed himself from a healing. So so basically all I do is so when you do hypnosis, it's just relaxing the mind. So you get a deeper experience. So just kind of align your energy centers, and then just the hypnosis part is relaxing, because most people can't relax their mind. So I'm just helping them through a guided relaxation. It's super easy. Anybody can do it. So you just say, okay, relax, but into the heart, and I give the commands, your heart's going to take over. And then I ask a series of questions, and I have this dialogue and interaction with you. And soon, by the time this podcast is out, I should have some online that you can actually download and experience yourself. So an extremely powerful process, because if we can create anything in our lives, right? Anything, if you could heal yourself of a terminal illness, which is, if I don't know if people can see the video, but I got Dr. Joe Dispenza's books here that I've read. You Are the Placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Unbelievable studies in there that just defy logic and science of people doing miracles. So if you could create anything, and you get one life on this planet, and imagine dying in a month, imagine dying in 6 months. The other practice actually that I'd highly recommend, and as I'm saying this, I'm going to make one. The closest thing that I had before this was a shamanic death ritual, which again is just a basic guided meditation on walking into your own death. And it kind of sucks, because then you go to the other side and you really embody that experience. You're like, I wish this wasn't most important to me. This was more important. I should have done more. I did a really great job here. And you can kind of make this assessment through your heart. And rather than our hearts are supposed to lead our being, not our minds. And that's what society and, again, education has tricked us into, is logic and going with our heads. That's why people, not everyone, but people are afraid of people. People can be controlled and manipulated. People are stressed. Dude, all the Western countries, Australia, New Zealand, New Zealand's doing pretty good. Canada's doing pretty good. Aussie's doing okay too. But US, Canada, Europe, massive epidemic of stress and suicide and things like that because of what's happening to the mind. And so, that's why we got to get into our hearts and go full. And you have this faith in knowing that this is what you're going to create. And then you use your logic to build it. And then, but you wake up every day, and it's more of a process of letting go. When we're waking up and trying to acquire shit every single day, that's where we're putting so much stress on ourselves. Yep. Because you got to be happy with where you are and just let it be a byproduct. And when you let go of the condo and the Porsche and all those things, you're like, oh my goodness, cool. I could just sit on the beach and play guitar or whatever. And what you want most is so much more accessible than most people realize. And they realize they've been sold a lie. They've been sold bullshit. Yeah. And so you get these. It's interesting because of the ones that I do them, and I ask a certain series of questions. What are you most passionate about? What's your dream? What's your purpose? What's your mission? A few other questions, and I kind of navigate that realm. Everybody is the same. When you're hypnotized into your heart, everybody is the same. They want to be in nature. They want to be around great people. They want to do something that matters. They want to be around love and loving people, and they want to spread love and make a difference. How mother effing beautiful is that? And that's the true nature of every individual on this planet. But we cut corners, and we compromise, and we compromise, and we compromise our souls. And don't compromise your soul one little bit at all. And if you start living in that way, you'll change your life. And now it's not easy. It's way harder. but it's so much more worth it, man. So,
yeah. It's all about that journey to work through it. Because if we had everything that we wanted, then we wouldn't treasure it, we wouldn't honor it, we wouldn't believe that we deserved it, and then it just becomes like another new toy, right? That we just throw away.
Yep. And the things that we're acquiring don't actually do anything. Like, they do studies on people who win the lottery, right? And after a year, they go to the same level of happiness. Now, at first, of course, you're going to buy a Porsche and you're going to just muss around. But after a year is the same thing with athletes too. Just because people are famous or they're professional athletes, people think that they're happy. A lot of them are stressed out as heck. And so, I think that with the sport, side, and we teach people how to just perceive sport as a catalyst to develop their mind, body, spirit. This is where it's this stepping stone into the real crazy, the crazy out there stuff. I've been giving you like kindergarten PG-13 like stuff. I have information and stuff that goes like way beyond, like we're talking intergalactic, like alien beings, like leaving my body through a breath technique. Like all this is very real for me, but it's really hard for people to digest. But if you can just get the bit, like, you know, how could I say that, like, I'm from a star system and I'm aware of it, I think anyways, if you can't clear your mind. And the only way for me to connect to the stuff that's unknowable, that makes me know for sure that I have no idea what's going on. Because in, you know, religious texts, I've done a lot of like spiritual. I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious. And that's another big missing piece that we have here, is because religion has butchered the whole concept. You know, Jesus, Buddha, Christian, they would have been best friends. It's like South Park has it right. They would be the super best friends. But what's happened is they've, you know, taken out missing pieces and they've used it as a form of control. So when the spirituality comes back and the sense of higher purpose and connection with earth, that's the common theme. Every single religious text is basically, don't be a dick. Oh, except for, you know, when it's taught, it's like, oh yeah, you know, be kind and loving and don't kill, but kill those guys because they believe something different. Like there's just you in the message, right? So when they were real ascended masters. And so when you go from selfish to selfless, of service to everyone and everything, that's true, like awakening and enlightenment. And now we're getting into the stuff, you know what I mean? The real stuff, because it doesn't matter if I sell a lot of books. It doesn't matter. Nothing physical matters of who Matt Belair is. It matters that I'm doing my best to be really kind to people, to set my intention to be of service, to, you know, I don't know, act in a way that, you know, can be modeled. And I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes and sin and do all kinds of stupid shit all the time, but I do my best. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that's where, if we can get to that thing, but people who know me, you know, they meet me. I have one setting. In business, it's really odd for people. I didn't understand. I'm always offering to help, and they always think that there's this sort of scheme in there, but it's only the really conscious people who've done a lot of work. They just say, thank you. Thank you, man. I would love your help. And I was like, was that so hard? Like, I had no ulterior motive. You know, if you get more money and your life is great, that's awesome, man. You know, I'm not going to work 40 hours a week on your vision, but if I know something that can serve you, you know, like anybody listening to this who has a business in social media or whatever, like I crush social media, and everybody says they can, but they can't. And also crowdfunding. I have those two models. I can send them to you in a video course for free as a gift and a hug. Right. And it's almost everything that I know. And you know, you can use that. And if it makes your life better, yes. Awesome. I hope it does. Simple, man. You know, it's simple. Just like be kind to people and help them as much as you can. So that's what really gets in. Right. But sport is like the gateway. People can relate to getting better at sport. But once I have you there, now you're totally screwed, because once you start doing practices, then you're like, holy shit, man. Like Wim Hof, like, you know who Wim Hof is?
No, I actually don't, man.
Okay, so Wim Hof is the Iceman, and he can sit in cold. He has all these records for cold, and your body temperature is supposed to go down. So he's in like sitting in these ice baths for over an hour, 40 minutes, and his core temperature doesn't go down because he does his own yogic breathing technique that he invented through being out in cold. He's trekked Everest in underwear. He's done marathons in Alaska with nothing but underwear, not even socks. He was on like these picks, and this is through breathing. And if you look at him, he's amazing. He's such a great ambassador for all this, because he's happy. He's like, we do some breathing, we have some fun, and then we go have a beer. And sorry, Wim, that's a terrible accent for he's Austrian, I think. But just an amazing human, and that just shows, holy crap, what's possible. And he always says, this is possible for anyone, and I can teach you. And he's teaching people. So we're getting these conscious upgrades. This whole awakening thing is happening now. We're in it. And, you know, the sooner you wake up and you start doing your training, the better. And just, number one is letting go of a lot of shit you thought was important. We need everybody checking out of this broken mother effing system. We need people starting to be kind and open, doing the best they can. And we need people connecting to who they really are, and not just going to work in a job because it supports them. You can work your job, but start to figure out who you are and express that, and let go of these delusions of you don't need this big massive house. How about just a small house, a place to live with your friends, and your life you get to spend with your friends doing things that matter, right? Or you could work your ass off, and like I know some lawyers, right? And I was like, that's the worst job you could ever have. It sucks. All you do is work. And you know what I mean? And it's stressful. Like, you know, if you love being a lawyer, great. You're supposed to be a lawyer. You know what I mean? If you love it, that's the whole point. But as a model for a job, it's like one of these things that, oh yeah, he's a lawyer. He's got a Mercedes. His life is terrible. Most, you know, his or her is freaking awful. Would never want that. But some people are made to be lawyers, and they should be lawyers if they feel that they're that, right? But in even school, we're kind of selected to go do a career. So do the career, do your thing, but then look and continue always discover who you are and learn to compromise less and less and less, because I know a lot of people who refuse to compromise, and a lot of them have pretty mother effing extraordinary lives, and it's possible for anyone. And once you cut the cord and you start living that way, there's no way you go back. It is literally like unplugging from the Matrix.
Dude, man, what an epic amount of bombs that just went off there. And because you're like face palming yourself. Like, even I'm amazed, man. Even I'm amazed with what And Matt, man, we got to start wrapping up the show. And as we head into this quick fire round here, man, I want to start with this, man. Okay? I'm going to start with my favorite question here on this show. It's what we call the time travel moment. It's where if you could go back to any moment in your life, Matt, and you could talk to little Matt and give him one piece of advice that you know now, when would you go back to and what would you tell him?
Well, I only have one regret. And it's I quit skateboarding when I was a kid, and I was so good at it. And now I'm an adult, and it's so hard to learn again, and I loved it. Now that's like a selfish thing, because the only real regret I have, and I'm just dealing with it, because man, I was so good at skating and I quit. And if I would have just skated a bit, like years, I would have been able to really enjoy it. Now I'm getting it all back, and I'm just like, oh man, like my 14-year-old self was better. But you know, when I would go back to like a time, like in all honesty, around like 6 or 10, and when I was growing up, and I would just tell myself, you know, take it easy. It's all going to work out. Time is an illusion. You're going to be fine. Be as loving and as kind as you can. Don't worry. You're taken care of. You're infinitely loved. There's a force that you don't even know. And like, it's interesting too, because like last podcast, like it's not religious, but I'm going to start to get into more like, not spirituality, because that's what they're talking about. There is this divine force, man. And I felt it, and I've seen it, and I've been to like this 5-dimensional realm like many times. I can do it through breathing. Anybody on this podcast, send me an email. I'll show you the breath techniques. It's what's her name? Ananda girl, and there's a few other ones. Then there's also these breathings. But if you know what ayahuasca is, that's plant medicine. You can do this breathing and leave your body. It takes a bit of practice, but then you go to a whole nother realm. It's insane. And then you're like, oh, okay, this is the divine force that all the Zen masters were talking about. Oh, what God was talking about, or Jesus, what Buddha, what Krishna, everybody's saying the same thing. They were like, no, it's not me, Jesus. It's not me, Buddha. It's like, there's a force that we can all tune into. You know what I mean? And you just got to stop looking outside yourself and realize that if you look inwards, that's when you connect to the force, or you connect with nature, or you connect to your intuition, right? You are the master, you are the master, you are the master. And that's all they're saying. So as quick as, not bad for, I'm terrible. I'm so terrible at the rapid fire questions. I had him a couple times. There's a word. Rapid
I love that, man. I mean, I just said that it's just because we're wrapping up the show, and it's awesome. I always love it when, you know, we go off on tangents, because that's where this divine force is coming from, right? You're just in this huge flow. That's what I love, man. The next question I have for you, Matt, is this. I mean, like, you've read a lot of books, man. And if someone wants to get started more in the mental side of their game, in the mental side of their life, what book would you recommend is a total must read for them?
Okay, so pumping my own book. Zen Athlete is the best book that there's also one by Mark Divine. He's awesome. This is straight up mental game. Zen Athlete, although like I'm crazy mofo, it is just a compilation of all the best simple techniques that I've learned over a lifetime of doing this. It's a compilation. So you can apply, you see them and you apply it. I say in the first chapter, like, if you don't believe this exists, do not read this book. I don't give a crap. These are the techniques. This is squats. This is everything you need to know. And if you do it, you will get an awesome result. No bull crap. Also, Mark Divine. If you Google him, he has a few books. It's something mental toughness. Just Google Mark Divine mental tough. He's a Navy SEAL. That guy is righteous. And there's levels to this, man. I got no problem. If you're going to hire 2 people, probably go to Mark Divine, and I would be close, but that guy's amazing. He's probably better than me. Same with Michael Gervais. He's super badass. Like, those guys know their shit, man. They're awesome. And but Michael doesn't have a book. Mark Divine. Now, on what's going on, I was just talking to my buddy the other day, and the importance of reconnecting to spirituality. The Autobiography of a Yogi and The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings. Those are 2 great books. It's like a guidebook for living, right? Because you can get all this stuff as business, but how do you live in peace, right? There's nothing more important than peace. Peace. How do you live in peace? Do you feel love? Are you peaceful? Are you happy? That's the most important thing, man. All your whole external reality will change and get exploded every single day. You do not control that. What you can control is yourself. So, Autobiography of a Yogi and The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. Because Buddhism, for me, is so good in the sense that it kind of lays out all the mental shit that we have to go through. So that's when, like, here's the 3 noble truths. And you know what? They're just true. You know what I mean? And, like, here's the 8-fold path, right speech, right? Like, it just makes so much sense. So if you can kind of, like, see this, you're like, oh, this is a pretty useful platform for me to kind of steer towards. It's not religious, it's helpful. Same with Zen teachings, but Zen is just all about being in the moment, right? Like, what is enlightenment? You get whacked with a stick. Well, because when you are in the moment, you can't think and create problems. All problems are created in the mind, but their teachings are confusing.
Amazing, dude. I gotta get these books, man. We're gonna add them into the show notes as well, man. And
cool.
Final question here, Matt, man, as we wrap up the show here, is really this, man. I mean, like, I want to take a different approach here to this question. Usually I ask, like, what is true health? What's true wealth? But I want to ask you this, man. I mean, like, I hear this word Zen a lot, right? And so I'd love to ask you, man, what is being in a true state of Zen? What's that really look like? And how would you describe that?
So would you use Zen, like, kind of like around enlightenment, or Zen, or just Zen as the word? Or would you have, like, connotations of enlightenment with Zen, or you think,
no,
you know what I'm saying?
Zen is just, I think, man, I like how you flip the question here on me, man. I think like kind of like a peaceful state, right? And so,
okay, cool.
More like a state in my mind. That's what I think it is.
Perfect. Okay. I just want to ask for clarity. Okay. So Zen is just a concept, man. It's just like a way of thinking. And it's almost this constant reminder of being in the moment. What is a Zen state? What is Zen? I have the thing tattooed on my chest, and it's like not even a clear answer. Sometimes I Google it. I'm like, okay, that's what people are saying. Like, I don't even know. But really what it boils down to for me is that Zen is understanding your own self, understanding that the fundamental truths that you're not going to know. It's surrender, right? It's surrendering that I don't know, but I get free will and choice to grow. And that it is being fully present, Zen present. So how you go around it. And that's the whole thing is people think like, enlightenment, boom, you wake up, right? Well, actually, waking up is realizing that you have free will. You get to choose how you feel. You definitely create your reality. So you accept every single thing. And then you, when things happen, this isn't exactly Zen, but you can have the perspective of everything is for your highest good or not. So if you see every circumstance as your highest good, now you have an opportunity to grow. So the Zen is a perspective. It's a life perspective. It is this consistent reminder to come back to the present moment. It's just because you're going to, I do it all the time, but it's like, oh yeah, cool. My mind is here. Oh, I'm stressed out about money. Come back to the present moment. Like that's, just chill. Right? Have a shower. Oh, my mind's going, yeah, come back. Boom. Like that Zen. So, and it's this real deep level of self-forgiveness, of real release, of just real connection, Real tuning in with what you feel, but also not beating. Everybody beats the shit out of themselves mentally. You know what I mean? So when that happens, come back to the present moment, understanding, like that's your monkey mind. That is actually not you. That's just random freaking thoughts happening, right? Not you, just thoughts happening randomly. So that's where meditation comes in. So I guess another long-winded answer, but enlightenment is in Zen is like knowing that you're the creator, knowing that there is this, force that you can connect to, and that your mind is not going to know. You actually have to shut off, and you have to learn just to continue to be present, surrender to the bigger picture, and, be willing. Then you're like, okay, cool. Like, all right, like I'm kind of getting this. I'm super confused. I have no idea what's going on. Nothing's guaranteed. So what do I do now? It's like, okay, well, how do I be at peace and of service to others? Well, bingo. Now you're on the track. It's more like walking in a direction, right? Zen and enlightenment is walking a different direction. Maybe all of society is going south, but when you're Zen and you're enlightened, you're walking north, which means you still don't know what the hell's going on. You're still Frodo Baggins, but you're choosing a different direction. That's what it is to me at this point in time, right now, until I get more information and realize that everything I said I just now changed with a new piece of information. I don't know.
That one does not merely enter Mordor. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I had to throw that in because of the Lord of the Rings reference, and I was just like, man, that meme just popped into my head. And so,
it's totally relevant. Spot on. Exactly. Yeah, spot on.
Exactly. Oh, man, it's been an amazing time chatting here with you, man. Learning so much here. I love it. And Matt, man, for the people that want to connect with you and want to learn more about yourself, your book, the heart hypnosis that you're going to put out there, where's the best place they should head over to, man?
So head over to mattbelair.com. I've got stuff, and you can sign up there, and I'll be, I give out random gifts and stuff like that all the time. I'm all over social media. I'm on Matt Belair, Instagram. I'm always posting some cool stuff and quotes. And zen-athlete.com. I've got all these meditations, and you could, if you're a business person and you take that, like some of my friends are in business, and you just take that program and you just, rather than sport, put business, crush it, man. And anybody who's a coach out there, anybody who's an athlete like coach or wants to have it, I don't, money is not my main thing. Like, you need something from me, ask me, I will help you. I'm trying to figure out a way to get 100% downloads on my website. Soon, I think I might figure out just to give it for free, but people perceive free as valueless. So, which doesn't make any sense. But when I get LeBron James and the biggest athletes in the world say Zen Athlete is good, then I can say, hey man, just, chip in whatever you want. Because if I have like 50, different audios on there. So if, people chip in $1 and, every week, 1,000 people give me $1, yay, man, I'm stoked. But I want you to learn meditation. I want you to learn hypnosis. I want you to learn guided visualization. I want you to learn how to uncover your limiting beliefs, because it's so mother effing powerful, and you have to learn how to unprogram. And most people don't even know how messed up and wired they are, right? If you are not living in love and bliss and somewhat certainty in which direction you're going, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, get a hold of me. I have some solutions, but it's like the same way as like if you're not in shape, you know what I mean, and you got a problem, I can give you the plan. You got to go do it. These are strategies that work, but now again, you're walking in a new direction. You know what I mean? And you just want to have because there's such an overload of information out there, and I'm kind of like a processor. I go through and through, so if I can help you, like, let me know, man. It's not about the money, like, and then, pay it forward, help someone else, give them a hug. If I teach you meditation, give them my meditation. I don't care, man. Just meditate, or, I don't know, man. I just want to help people so bad. This stuff works. I swear to God, it works. Yeah, right. And that's the thing. People are only, people have to help themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's it. So if you're ready and you want to just experiment, man, I'm here for anybody who is listening to this. I kid you not. And I wish you all the best in the freaking world.
Amazing, man. Well, man, thank you again, brother, for jumping on the show, man. Absolute pleasure having you on here, sharing your wisdom, sharing your beliefs and everything else that is inside of you, man. Thank you for jumping on, bro.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. And guys, this wraps up another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here today with the Zen athlete himself, right? Matt Belair. And I know Matt doesn't want this wants to be a secret. He's told you how many times already he doesn't want this to be a secret. So make sure you head on over so that we can actually spread the word, spread his message, and spread the message of all the other guests on this show here. So please go and rate us on iTunes so that we can share his message out there to the world. Now, of course, go on over to richardfu.com to grab all the show notes and all the amazing resources that Matt has shared here on the show. And finally, guys, go out there, go live with love and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.